G'day punters, hello and welcome along to the Tap Touch AFL Grand Final edition. David Shortte and Digby Beacham with you to preview the big game. G'day Diggers.
Shorty, good morning.
Really excited, can't wait for it. Saturday, the MCG full house, and we'll see Adelaide taking on Richmond. Both impressive in their preliminary finals, and we're in for a ripper.
Yeah, agree, Shorty. They couldn't have done any more, could they, the two sides, to get to this point. Emphatic winners in the qualifying finals and also the preliminary finals, so they deserve their spots. Who wins? Well, time will tell.
It will indeed. Let's have a look at the markets and see if they're any guide. Adelaide $1.67, Richmond at $2.25, line betting set at 6.5. Look, it's pretty much where they opened up this market. There was money for Richmond initially into $2.20. They're back out to $2.25 now, and Adelaide $1.68. They got out to back into $1.67. So certainly the punters out there at the moment thinking that we've got the market pretty much spot on.
And I'm in the grants, Shorty. I've gone the Crows. I just think that their ball use is one thing that's been a hallmark of their season thus far. Certainly their time under Don Pike, and the late Phil Walsh had a great emphasis on them being bolder and taking the game on and making sure that they use their skills, and I think their skills are superior to Richmond's, and I think if they are able to show those skills and hit their targets, that will overcome the pressure that Richmond brings.
Yeah, look, I think the key for me will be just the forward setup for Adelaide. It's so dynamic, it has been all year. They've been able to score really comfortably, and the likes of Tex Walker down there. Charlie Cameron was excellent last week. Eddie Betts loves the big stage. He's ready to fire in his first grand final. They just, to me, have got so many dangerous players inside that forward 50 that if they get the supply, you'd be really surprised if they can't put a score on the board. They've scored 100 plus regularly throughout the course of the year. It's hard to do in finals. They've done it relatively comfortably in both finals that they've played so far this year. The key for me with Richmond will be that pressure. We saw them in the first week of the finals, so very good with that pressure that they put on Geelong. We then saw Geelong defeat Sydney, which I thought was an excellent effort, and then Adelaide were able to defeat them. So, look, form lines, it's tricky. They only have met once so far this year, earlier on in the year, and on that occasion it was Adelaide who won by more than 10 goals against Richmond. Granted, it was at the Adelaide Oval, and it was earlier in the year before Richmond had really evolved, but gee, it's the only other form line we've got with these two sides, and it was a convincing win to Adelaide, so there's plenty to like about them. Richmond, though, I'm not prepared to completely write them off. I've loved what I've seen from them so far this finals campaign. They really need to bring their A-grade pressure, Digby, to win a game like this. They're up against a quality opponent who finished on top of the table, who are good ball users and who have very good inside forward 50 numbers to their credit. So Richmond, for them to win, they need a fair bit to go right.
Yeah, I agree with that, Shorty. I think you're spot on. They need a lot of things to go right, and they need to be able to harness that ball movement of Adelaide, because if they don't, as we've seen, not just in the finals but throughout the course of the home and away, Adelaide score big and they score quickly. And if they establish a 4 or a 5 goal lead early doors, that takes Richmond out of their comfort zone. They then have to try and open up the game. They don't want to do that. They want to congest it. So there's a really important stage of the game early for Richmond to hold their ground and try and restrict Adelaide from scoring freely.
Yeah, the biggest blue too when you play that game and you have to take the game on like that is that it can really blow out.
Exactly.
Because there's nothing left to play for. If it gets to a 5 or 6 goal margin, we've seen in all of this final series to date, if it's not looking pretty at half-time, generally by the time it's got to full-time, they've been big blowouts.
Agree. We saw it with Geelong and Richmond at three-quarter time in their qualifying final. Geelong were behind. They tried to open the game up to get over the top of Richmond. What happened? They left themselves vulnerable out the back. Richmond scored heavily and won well.
Definitely. There's plenty of great markets to have a look at for the punters. Kicking off with first goal scorer betting. Jack Riewoldt at 9, Eddie Betts at 10, Jenkins and Walker 11, Tanzand at 13, it's 15 and upwards the rest. Charlie Cameron at big odds appeals to me, first goal scorer. He was on fire last week, and at double figure odds, he'll probably get me for a little play, as will Eddie Betts, first goal scorer. Diggers?
Taylor Walker for mine. I've just got something in the bones that tells me he might be ready to have a big one, and if he does, against Alex Rance, I think he can make a statement early. So Taylor Walker for mine.
Yeah, I've liked what he's done as skipper there. Most goals for the game, Eddie Betts at 4, Walker 550, 6 for Jack Riewoldt, 7 for Jenkins, 8 for Martin, 10 for Rioli, 11 for Caddy and 13 for little Charlie Cameron. Are you sticking with your man Tex there at the 550?
I am. I'm in chips in with Tex this weekend.
I'll go with Eddie, little Eddie Betts at $4 there. The big shorts to fire on grand final day. Most disposals, Group A is always a popular market. Matt Crouch at $2.70 favourite, Dustin Martin at 3, Brad Crouch at 6, 7 for Rory Laird, 7 for Rory Sloane, 13 for Prestia, it's 19 and upwards the rest there. Really interesting, something like that with Dustin Martin. interesting to see if he plays mainly in the middle, or if he, like last week, spends more time up forward. That'll have a big bearing on what happens in that market, I'd suggest.
I think the 270 Matt Crouch, a lot of stoppages. He'll be at a lot of those stoppages because of the way he plays. He's not quick, but he just grinds from stoppage to stoppage to stoppage. At $2.70, I'm happy to play him.
Yeah, I'll roll with you there. And of course, the big one's the Norm Smith market. All the money for Dustin Martin early, 5 into 450 after taking out the Brownlow earlier in the week. Rory Sloane and Matt Crouch both at 7, 9 for Cochin, 12 for Betts, 13 for Brad Crouch, 14 for Ranson Laird, 17 for Jacobs. It's 19 and upwards. The rest, who do you like for the Norm Smith diggers?
Rory Sloane for mine, Shorty.
Okay.
He's a player who attracts votes when the umpires vote on awards, and also I think the media have a soft spot for Rory Sloane. They do like him, and a lot of media will be voting on this award, so Rory Sloane for mine.
The blonde curls, eh?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice, Digby? It's a long time ago that I had the old Milo rolling. Wouldn't that have been good? Look, he's a huge chance. I think Matt Crouch is very much underrated for Adelaide. As you touched on, I think he'll get a heap of the ball, and if that's the case, then he may well go on to take out the Norm Smith medal around that $7 range. Looks pretty reasonable shopping to my eyeball. Let's have a look at our final thoughts on the game itself. Who's going to win and by how much, Diggs?
I've settled on the Crows, Shorty. I think they've been the best side all year, and they will remain the best side at the end of Saturday afternoon. And I've gone the Adelaide Crows to win by 25 points, their first premiership in 19 years.
All right, so Digby going with Adelaide by 25 points. Likewise, I'm going with Adelaide. I'm going to take them to win by 17 points. I think the Crows, to me, just have got that more forward line power, and that could prove the difference between these two sides going into the big one on Saturday. Just recapping as well, your Norm Smith option, and there is a great tap touch special as well with the Norm Smith. If you manage to get the Norm Smith medalist correct, it's a bonus up to 50%, up to $50 for all tap touch account holders. Diggers, just recapping your Norm Smith medalist.
Rory Sloane for mine, Shorty.
Rory Sloane on top for Digby. I'm going with Matt Crouch, and they're both at $7 at the moment on the fixed odds market with Tab Touch. It's been a wonderful AFL season. Really looking forward to this grand final on Saturday. Make sure you get online and have a look at all the markets with Tab Touch. Enjoy the big game itself with family and friends, and of course the NRL final as well on Sunday. We've got all the markets there as well with Tab Touch before we get into a wonderful spring racing carnival ahead of us. Digby, thank you so much for all of your help throughout the course of the year.
Pleasure.
I've loved it.
Pleasure, Shorty. It's been a blast.
We'll look to do it all over again in 2018. Punters, thanks so much for your company. Enjoy the big AFL Grand Final with Tab Touch on Saturday. All the best.